Morning. It's day 3 of my little sailing excursion, and a little cooperation from the weather and a little skill at the helm. This will be the last day I spent on the water here in Beaufort, North Carolina. Apologize, I didn't sleep well last night. After that storm, the wind continued at about 16 knots, between 13 and 16 knots all night. I actually had to move my tent to prevent it from blowing away and buckling over, as you guys saw in that clip from the storm. Right now, I've departed Shackelford Bank probably about 25 minutes ago, and the wind is still blowing pretty good. I think it's, I don't know, between 9 and 12 knots right now, and it's only supposed to increase as the morning goes on. I left out at around 8 a.m. So my goal right now is I'm on a port tack on my way to the leeward side of Harker's Island, hoping to find a little reprieve from the wind there, even if it adds, you know, some extra time to my trip. And it's a rather wet tack, as you guys can see in the video. It's fortunately not gusting too well. I should say it's not gusting too hard. Again, I did not sleep well last night. I think I slept solid from about 9 p.m. until 1 a.m. and then very sporadically after that. So, I may be just under the halfway point between Shackelford Bank and Harker's Island right now. The lighthouse is off to the starboard side of my boat over there. Not to take any chances, I pulled Winola about 25 feet past the high tide mark last night when I went to bed. Tied her off pretty well, so she survived. The only casualty thus far is apparently my sunglasses. I'm not exactly sure where they are. No, I made myself laugh this morning when I pictured a wild pony walking around wearing my shades. To beat the tide, as I left about a half an hour after the high tide mark. I didn't even get breakfast or coffee or anything. I really just want to get ahead of this wind that's forecasted. And though you can't tell, the large expanse of water that I'm crossing right now, which I believe is Beaufort Sound, for the most part, between Harker's Island and Shackelford Bank, is not very deep. So, I don't want to be messing around here in a couple hours with low tide coming in around 1 p.m. I had to maneuver my way through some oyster beds yesterday and this morning, and those things are like hard as rock, so I'd rather avoid those if possible. Alright, now change tacks, and this should bring us directly into Beaufort without much correction on course or the need for any more tacks. And not to be outdone by the port tack, the starboard tack is proving to be equally, if not more, wet. So that's good, but at least the sun's out. Yeah. It's a good speed. Yeah, not too breezy, which is great. Gusty, I should say. But other than that, we're doing all right. Well, there's Beaufort. Probably about 10 minutes out from the entrance of what I believe is Taylor Creek. And it has been one extremely wet sail. Looking forward to getting this thing docked, putting some dry clothes on, and going and get a beer and a burger somewhere. And of course, the wooden boat show as well at the North Carolina Maritime Museum here in Beaufort. Try and get some additional video as we're coming in. past all the boats that are moored out. I know there's a pretty large mooring field in there. So that'll be nice. Hopefully my truck is still there, because there may or may not have been a couple signs marked no overnight parking where I decided to park my truck. That was the easiest place for the launch ramp at the West Town Marina, or West Beaufort Marina, West Beaufort launch ramp. I'll get back to you on that one. But it's a free launch. It's owned and operated by the city. They just, I guess, don't want people parking overnight there. But my thought process was, if something went wrong on this trip, law enforcement, before anybody, would notice that my truck is there for days on end and hopefully start investigating. Fortunately, that didn't happen. So, all right, getting into some pretty tight waters here to maneuver around some moored boats, so I'm gonna sign off for now. Well, it seems that we've made it. So what you're looking at off the port is the Rachel Carson Reserve, which is the refuge for the horses here in Beaufort. And off to my right is Beaufort proper. This is Taylor Creek, I believe, and that is the closest I've been to another person since I set off on Thursday, which is pretty remarkable. The wind has died down in this creek quite a bit, so I anticipate this to be pretty slow going, and I may even take down the sails and row. We'll see how we go here, but it's pretty slow going, and the wind's kind of inconsistent, so. But either way, I am back in civilization, and we'll be attending the North Carolina Maritime Museum's Wooden Boat Show this afternoon, so that'll be fun. Alright, I'll fill you in all later. Well, and this beer marks the end of the trip of myself and Winola, embarking from Beaufort, North Carolina, down to Shackelford Banks, and then farther down Shackelford Banks to almost the Cape Lookout Lighthouse, and then back up past Harker's Island and through Travis Creek to the North Carolina Maritime Museum here at Beaufort, North Carolina. And this is where we began on that rainy night that I arrived on Wednesday. This is the Oyster Point campground run by the U.S. Forest Service, I believe. And as you can see, it's beautiful out here. Great little trip. Saw a ton of wildlife, to include wild horses and some raccoon and more species of birds than I know how to name. I mean, I know cardinals, orioles, blue jays, the eagles, and that might be about it for birds for me. Oh, and all was not lost. I eventually found my sunglasses. They were in with all of my camping stuff. I'm not sure how it got there, probably in the haze of the storm last night. But yeah, good little sail today. Got extremely wet, and other than that, I had a great time. I would definitely recommend this trip to anyone who's looking to not only improve their confidence in sailing, which I've done, but who's just looking for new waters to explore that are close by in the mid-Atlantic area, you know, anywhere from Georgia up to New Jersey. This is not a terrible trip to do in 5 days. I came from Virginia. It was about a 5-hour drive, and you know, when you're including gas and food, it's not extraordinarily expensive to do. Other than that, it's an outstanding time. Weather could have been better, but I don't know too many sailors who ever have the story to tell where it started with, and the weather was perfect. So, yeah. And there's that.